Hey guys, what's up? My name is Noctagal, and today I'm going to be giving my mostly uneducated opinion and prediction on the upcoming fight here in about, 1 to 3 hours uh, between Dillashaw and Sandhagen. And so what I did for this prediction is I researched the most recent 3 fights between both of the fighters, and I looked at the strengths and weaknesses that I saw in those 3 fights. So first I'll go through Sandhagen, as I didn't know as much about him. Sandhagen in particular really impressed me because he really moves in an unorthodox manner, and he's really good at getting out of the way a lot of strikes. He's very patient and calm. He doesn't push the action too much when he knows that it may not go in his favor. And that's something that I think he may end up having an advantage over Dillashaw, as Dillashaw is kind of willing to get into those exchanges and he'll really rush forward sometimes. And we've seen in the past that can get him caught by some hard shots that end the fight. For example, his most recent fight against Henry Cejudo, he was way too willing to exchange and it ended up leading to his downfall. However, the way that Dillashaw approached the Henry Cejudo fight did impress me in a manner, the fact that he got really low and he changed his fighting style to match Henry Cejudo. And while I don't think that was a good fighting technique for Cejudo, because Cejudo is already so low, I think that if Dillashaw was able to employ this technique and fighting style of fighting very, very low, it may actually benefit him against Sandhagen, as Sandhagen does seem to be a bit weak in the department of being able to be taken down, as well as someone attempting submission holds on him. So when I think about TJ Dillashaw, I wonder if Dillashaw would be able to get low enough to take Sandhagen down, or perhaps Dillashaw could catch Sandhagen at some point when they're exchanging, and then he could go for a submission and get it on Sandhagen. So in a lot of ways, I can see this fight being very even. So in my mind, I can't really imagine this fight going much longer than the 3rd round. I think that these guys are going to be landing bombs, especially probably towards the end of the 1st round, especially by the 2nd round. I think these guys are probably going to be going at it. And again, in the advantage and favor of Sandhagen. Sandhagen is a much larger opponent in comparison to Dillashaw. So clearly he's going to have the advantage on height and reach, and that's something that he's going to be able to use to his great benefit, as everyone saw when he had the flying knee knockout over Frankie Edgar. And so when you think about the similar heights between Dillashaw and Edgar, you have to worry about the kicks and the knees that Sandhagen is going to deliver. However, Dillashaw is also fairly proficient in kicks and knees. However, I would argue that he's a bit more reckless, especially in his last few fights that I watched, in how he actually sets up and throws his kicks. And I could see that becoming an issue against someone like Sandhagen, who is very technical and patient. And so if Dillashaw is not landing his shots all the time and he's spinning around too often, Sandhagen is very likely to catch him. And so it's hard for me to necessarily give the win to Dillashaw for a couple of those reasons. And I also need to consider the fact that Sandhagen is a fresher, more active fighter, and that is sometimes very important in the fight game. I mean, as we've seen before, some people can come out of retirement, or they can come out of a long break or suspension, like Dillashaw, and they can do really well. But sometimes the ring rust really does get to them, and so you do have to consider whether or not Dillashaw is going to be able to be in tip-top shape and in top form to take on someone like Sandhagen, who is very much so a rising star and has a lot of weapons in his arsenal. However, Dillashaw does have a lot of weapons in his arsenal as well. However, if it were a fight that goes to decision, I almost would definitely give it to Sandhagen. Otherwise, I think it's a bit more of a toss-up. However, I still think that based on what I saw from each of them in their most recent fights, I think I would have to lean towards Sandhagen. And I don't really have a dog in this fight. I'm not betting any money on it. I am not necessarily like a diehard fan of Dillashaw or Sandhagen to any degree. I only really learned about Sandhagen because of this fight. And I only really watched the recent fights from Dillashaw because of this fight as well. So both of them are not people that I am looking up to and love as fighters. I do respect them as fighters, and I really am excited to see this fight. However, I am attempting to come from a fairly neutral standpoint on this. So in what I saw from both of their performances in their last 3 fights, I would have to say that Sandhagen probably has at least a 60-40 advantage over Dillashaw, simply because of the height and reach advantage, as well as the fact that he's overall I think a calmer and more technical fighter to a degree, and he throws kicks and sets out kicks better than Dillashaw. And so when you consider the fact that Sandhagen's kind of a highlight reel, fighter, and the way he does it, especially against smaller fighters like Dillashaw, you do have to worry that no matter how good Dillashaw is, he may end up getting taken out by Sandhagen. So that's why I'm going to have to lean towards Sandhagen. But yeah, let me know if you agree or disagree down in the comments below. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.